because you're right. Like in the moment, today's session might be, it's all manding because you keep asking me for things, or there's things you're really motivated by. Tomorrow's session, you're not motivated by a lot, and it's actually like all coping skills and toleration. And like I struggle with that. Maybe because my learners are much more complex, but I really do struggle with that, with like how to show experimental control without getting tied down by the data and then letting that bleed into other forms of control.
We're back, everybody. It's Nicole and myself, Christina Torres, with our Reinforcing Conversations podcast, shaping better behavior one talk at a time.
We are made possible through support from the New England Center for Children, for over 50 years, the worldwide leader in autism education and research. Through our schools, clinics, consulting services, and the ACE ABA software system, we are shaping a more inclusive future for all.
Yay! Yeah, guys, check out the New England Center, especially if you're in the Boston, Massachusetts area.
Although they have places everywhere, which is wild. You go to
I didn't know that.
Abu Dhabi. They've got partner classrooms all over New England. I don't know if they still have it, but there was a point where they had some classrooms in New York City, although the New York City DOE is like infamously challenging to deal with. They may have made a wise decision not to stay there. So yeah, they got places. I started there. That's where I got my roots. I definitely think if you're interested in this field, there is no better place to get your start. You will learn so much there, and there is access to so many great people.
Yeah. Experience and exposure.
Yes. And so many different, I worked in residential, and I only worked in residential when I was there, but I also did overtime in the adult services and the day program. They have early intervention, home-based services, partner classrooms. They have so many different spaces. So it's like, really, you want to see what ABA is like across settings. It's really easy to do it there. Really easy.
And then also too, right? One of the things what we want to talk about today is the concept of control.
Yeah.
Ooh, it comes to like when you hear the word control, like what other feelings and like what other words do you kind of associate the word control?
So I feel like control is like a very misunderstood thing in ABA. And I feel like people associate ABA with us being controlling, and that we want to control kids and like force kids to do whatever we want them to do. So I feel like it has such a negative, it's like, it's so icky.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I feel the same too, especially like in our field with all the different jargon that we have, it could come off like really aversive, right? And it's like, oh, you're trying to control the situation, or you're trying to control the learners. But also too, like you have to understand like not only just the definition, but also too, we're teaching our learners to control a lot of things in their environment and their autonomy. So control can go either way depending on which side of the spectrum you're on, right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, like the concept that you're teaching, like there's so many different ways to kind of see how control could look like. And it could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing.
Yeah, I feel like I have had my own personal journey with the word control, and kind of how like my behavior and what behaviors I have that are trying to control others. And I feel like, a lot of times, even sometimes when you're giving someone feedback, like let's say like, I'm so annoyed that you scheduled this dinner at the same time that I have this other thing. And so now I'm going to like kind of say something that like a little needly or dig under your skin in a way to try to get you to change the dinner. But like, this is the card that I've been dealt. You schedule dinner at the same time I have my kids, maybe. And so like, I like to say like, when I think about control in that way is like, I can only control what I can control. And I can't control what other people do and what other people's actions are and what other people's motivations are. I can only control myself and how I respond and how I react in that environment. And I feel like I've had like such a journey in that where like sometimes I'm like, am I saying this because I'm trying to get somebody to do something differently because it annoys me or it's inconvenient for me? Or am I actually like saying this because it's a valid thing to say or it's meaningful or I'm trying to be helpful? I think a lot of times like my anger comes from like a lack of control, where I feel a lack of control.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And so like I try to embody that with like my learners and the people that I work with and my own children, because there is you can have a lot of self-control, but I don't use my actions in a way to try to control others. Because it's like, what good is that doing? Like, I'm just going to try to get you to do what I want you to do because I want you to do it. I feel like that's not because it's convenient for me. I'm not trying to make my life, well, I am trying to make my life as convenient as
Natural instinct, right? It's like obviously we
yeah.
have to do things that are, first of all, when you have a lot of control, you have a lot of say in your environment, especially in how to navigate it, right? So wanting to have control in your environment is not necessarily a bad thing, especially if like you need that sense of control to navigate your daily role, right? You need to have a certain amount of self-control. But also too, when it comes with self-control, is like being able to control how you respond and react to things, right?
Yeah.
And being mindful and being proactive and understanding. I was literally talking about this topic last night too, but it's really, there's so many components of control, and the base off of your environment is going to dictate what needs to be controlled and what doesn't. But also
Yeah.
learners that we're supporting, it's also important to, show them that they have a sense of control in their environment, or like, you can control how you feel navigating, like, oh, if it's too loud, you are in control. Like, look, you need your headphones, make sure you're bringing their headphones, right? So that they can control how they feel, their comfort levels, depending on what roles and which environments they have to be placed in, right? For example, in the school, they have to go to lunch, right? They have to go to recess. If that's an environment that's something that's consistent, they have to be able to control their environment and like be able to be proactive to navigate things that they can accommodate themselves in environments like that. So, being able to teach our learners that type of concept is so important so that they do have a control in their environment.
Right. Well, and I think that there's a thing, and I see this developmentally in younger kids, right? There's a developmental stage where younger kids are really good at telling other people how to follow the rules. And like I feel like it's an effort to like create order out of chaos. And so like let's say you're in a lunchroom and there's other kids being loud and crazy. Oftentimes, especially with autism or ADHD, there's somebody trying to like there's a kid who's trying to lecture them to get them to stop doing what they're doing. But like actually to try to control the situation and to try to make order of it. But actually like what these kids need to be learning is how to be like, all right, you're choosing not to follow the rules. And it's not my job to make you follow the rules. And it's not my job to try to control your behavior. It's my job to figure out how I manage myself in this chaos. And like maybe that's leaving, maybe that's putting on headphones, maybe that's finding a friend who I feel more comfortable with, whatever the case is. But I feel like oftentimes people are like, oh, I'm going to go tell them that they shouldn't be doing that. And it's like, why are you going to tell them that? Like, it's not your job. It's not your job to try to fix it. Like, let them get in trouble. Let them have the natural consequences. You don't control their behavior.
Now, but what about you being the teacher and you're letting them know, like, hey, you have to behave in this environment a specific type of way, right? Because there's also, think about like, like it's like social norms, right? Like, there's rules that do have to be followed, so there has to be some type of control in the environment to shape that understanding of how to be successful in the environments that our learners are in.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm trying to think because I feel like something just happened with one of my kids. Oh, Nolan and I were in the therapy office. Jack goes to therapy, and Nolan and I were in the waiting room, and this woman kept coming out, and she was like one of the other therapists who co-shares the office, and she was like, your conversation in this waiting room is way too loud and you're disrupting one of my patients. There's like 32 sound machines. And he was being as quiet as he possibly could be. And I was shocked at how rude she was and how but also it's her office. So I was like, Nolan, you either have to whisper or we have to go somewhere. We have to go outside. And then she came back out and she was like, there's a Dunkin' Donuts down the street, which like, yes, sweetheart, I already know there's a Dunkin' Donuts down the street. I just spent a half hour there. Like, we went to the Dunkin' Donuts already. We've been to the Dunkin' Donuts. But I was like, because Nolan was like, I just wanna, and I was like, what, are you going to get in a fight with this woman? Like, it's her office. There are expectations for how people behave in the waiting room in her office. And I don't like the way she spoke to us. But we do have to respect the fact that that's the social norm here is we need to be quiet in this waiting room. So you can either be quiet and read your book to yourself and whisper to me, or we can go sit in the car. And he was like, well, I don't want to sit in the car. And I was like, then you have to be quiet.
The choice is you got to whisper.
Yeah, then you're gonna have to be quiet. And he's like, but I want to play the video games. And I was like, well, you've had a meltdown playing the video games, so we can't play the video games anymore. Like, you have to play the video games silently. And that I feel like is too hard in this environment for you. And I feel like that's okay. Like, I feel like that's okay I feel like there's this like new, I don't know if it's new, but like I see a wave and like, I guess like my peers of like, oh, I'm going to go chew her out for speaking to my child inappropriately or poorly. And it's like, that's not going to change anything. It's not going to fix the problem. That's just what the social norm is. And so you just have to control your own behavior. I can't control how she's going to speak to me.
Yeah. I mean, came with a better approach or tone. You know what I mean? Like, hey,
Yeah.
nicer way to kind of like share that you're a little too loud. But you mentioned something earlier too before, and it reminded me of that visual of like the iceberg in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like things that I can control, right?
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
everything that I'm not in control of. And
Yes.
what I was talking about yesterday too, it's like once we leave our household, we are a part of society. We have
Yeah.
consequence on other people's life, whether you like it or not. If you're going to the store, you're going to be in other people's environments and you're going to have a
Mm-hmm.
consequence, whether you have an interaction with them or not. So we have to be mindful of our behavior and the impact that we make in our community. So
Yeah.
there's so much to be mindful of once you leave your house.
Right. Right. And there's so many different expectations in different places. But I feel like the big piece when you come back to like control piece is like you can't always control the environment and you can't always control what other people are doing. But like, you asked me like what would you do as the teacher in those moments? I feel like being the teacher is different than being another student. It's like it is the teacher's job is to deliver a consequence. You want to engage in a bad behavior, fine, but here's what the boundary is, and here's what's going to, like, you're going to go to the principal, or I'm going to have to give you a lecture, or you have to write a note to apologize to the lunch aide, or whatever the thing is. There has to be some kind of consequence. It's not like the teacher and then the consequences hopefully control the behavior.
You mentioned a really important keyword, right? It's like boundaries. I think also
Mm-hmm.
boundaries also goes hand in hand with control.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff that we have to be in control of, which means we have to set boundaries so other people could respect that boundary. Speaking behavior analytically, like, oh, if something makes you uncomfortable, you need to put it on extinction, which means you need to advocate and be in control of your environment, especially if that's occurring in your environment, right? In a sense, it's like it's important to have that control. So if anything, it's a plus to be able to advocate so that you have that sense of control in your environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it goes back to like whether you're getting reinforced or punished based off of the contingency, but natural contingencies, right? Extraneous variables are things that we are not in control of that are going to happen and occur naturalistically. And that
Right.
that shapes us to be a better version of who we're going to be.
It's funny that you just said that too, the natural contingencies piece, because I feel like a lot of people, good ABA does not rely on control through verbal behavior. It relies on control through contingencies, right? So,
Say that
like, good ABA doesn't rely on control through verbal behavior. So, it doesn't rely on me being like, well, if you break the rule, this is what the consequence is going to be. It relies on the rule is broken, here's the consequence. And I feel like there is this piece of like, we try to control behavior through verbal behavior, of like, oh, well, you don't want to do that because somebody might get hurt. Obviously, if somebody's going to get hurt, you have to say something, but like, oh, you don't want to do that because da da da. Like, maybe you need to,
contact
you need
natural
to
tendencies.
contact the natural consequence of like, ooh, your impulsive comments hurt somebody's feelings. And now you feel bad. And so now maybe you're not going to be as impulsive next time. And instead of me trying to control your behavior, I'm going to help work you through that consequence and how to behave better, what to do in that next time.
But also to piggyback off of like that rule governed behavior, right? It's like verbal
Mm-hmm.
behavior plays such a huge role, guys. And like a simple word, like a simple stop sign is verbal behavior. Like you need to
Yeah.
stop at a stop sign. If you see
Right.
a red light, that's a SD for you to pause, because if you're going to continue to go, if you have a red light, you're going to cause an accident possibly.
Oh my God, I almost saw one the other day. Oh my God, I was driving and like it was a left turn and 4 cars went through the red light at the left turn and the 4th car almost got in an accident. I was the 5th car. The 4th car almost got into an accident and I was like, what is happening? What are you doing? I was like, is it not red? What do I do? And then like that's the consequence. I feel like and then I was like, oh, I'm going to be a witness and then I'm going to have to deal with being a witness.
What a mess.
I was like, I don't have time for this. But again, that's what it is. Like, you have to let go of that. It's like, what's going to happen is going to happen, and then I'm going to deal with it because I can't control if the car in front of me goes through a red light and has a car accident.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that, right? Because I swear to God, Nicole, I probably have it on my phone because I was like, oh, I gotta send this to Nicole. But control, right? And let's talk about like road
Yeah.
rage, right? Because
Yeah.
and flexibility and tolerating no, right? Especially
Yeah.
going back to control. It's like, oh, why are you always like trying to control them? Or like it's okay if they don't like that. Or, it's like, why do you have to repeat things consistently and like run the same trials? It's like, first of all, a lot of our learners do need repeated exposure to learn a behavioral cusp. Like we're aiming for
Yeah.
a behavioral cusp, right?
Right.
And tolerating no is an important skill set for anyone to understand,
Mm-hmm.
to accept and be flexible. So going back to like the road rage, right? Because I saw a video yesterday of like literally somebody was on a fast lane and somebody was behind them. And so the car is like, speeding up to come on this lane. And I guess this person was inflexible and they were in a company car and they literally hit the side of the car and the car crashed
Oh my
because
God.
they didn't go over fast enough. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, for someone to literally decide to cause harm to somebody because they were impatient and inflexible for this car to turn over and now caused possible that person to pass away. It's
I
like,
know.
that's why it's so important for people to learn to be flexible, be mindful. Like, how can you let a simple gesture, a stranger, because they took too long to cross over, cause you to respond in a way that's going to cause harm to somebody else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I think, it's funny. That's like such a good example because I feel like you can translate that to what people think is ABA,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is that like if a kid doesn't do exactly what you expect them to do, like what people think is ABA is that
Yeah.
if I say clap your hands and the kid doesn't clap their hands, I'm going to be like, clap your hands and like force them to clap their hands. I'm like, maybe, but probably not. But like it's actually that's not like this vision of ABA. It's like, oh, I'm gonna manipulate things to get them to do what I want. I'm gonna intimidate them and I'm gonna make them do what I want them to do. Like, well, I want this car to drive faster, and if they don't, there's consequences, and I'm forceful and I make them do it, and I use hand over hand prompting and I force them to do things. And I feel like that's not my ABA, and I feel like that's not what ABA is intended to do. But I feel like that's why people think ABA is so controlling. Is like I can picture like a technician or whatever working with a kid and just like they're not, they're being non-compliant and you're like forcing them to sit in the chair and you're like touch red, touch yellow, touch red, touch yellow, touch red, and you're like forcing them to do that. And I think like that version of ABA when that happens is traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's what ABA, we're not meant to control kids in that way and like force them to comply with like tasks like that. We're not meant to be forcing compliance.
I think also too, one of the things that people are not really understanding when it comes to like why we might run trials consistently is like one of the biggest pieces like listener responding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is the learner able to listen to the speaker and respond, right? So it's like, is it control? Or like, especially in the schools, like, oh, he doesn't listen. He's not doing his
Mm-hmm.
work, right? What is that? Oh, so he's not compliant. And especially in our field, right? We are objective. We're not subjective.
Right.
I mean, we're subjective. We're not objective. What is it? Which one is it? It's like operational definition. We're objective. But
We're
like,
objective. I was
yeah,
like, but I feel like I'm subjective all the time.
yeah, variations, right? But like when
I'm
it
a
comes,
subjective human.
it's like it's objective.
Yeah.
So okay, he's not listening when I tell him to do something. Okay, listener responding. He's not filling his paperwork. He's not doing his work. He's not lining up when I tell him to line up. Right? It's like, okay, so he's not compliant. He's not compliant. He's not listening. He's not responding. That's a listener responder component piece. So if the learner lacks that listener responder piece, that's a huge skill that we need to focus on. Because think about, hey, stop. They're going to run in a low, stop running, right? It's like, oh, John, come here. There's so many pieces that people leave out, and the concept, they have to think about the concept of the trials that we're running and like, what is the end goal? Like, even like listener responding is so important. One step directions, right? And people take it like they're not really mindful of those like the foundational pieces of those things. And
Mm-hmm.
that could go over a lot of people's head when it comes to like understanding how ABA is.
Right. Right. Yeah, I agree because I think then it looks like you're just being like barking orders at a child, but actually what you're doing is you're practicing responding to directions over and over again to build that muscle in the same way that you practice hitting a ball in a batting cage or swinging a golf club at a driving range. It's just that this child needs to work on listening and then knowing what to do when somebody says something, I know how to respond.
Yes.
And I paid attention and I know what those words mean and I know how to respond, and you're actually practicing that over and over again. And I think a lot of times people associate some of that practice with ABA trying to control somebody.
Yes. And they're not thinking of like, hey, this is a skill set that is literally
Mm-hmm.
the foundation. And if this learner is going to learn anything more moving forward, they have to be able to respond to their
Mm-hmm.
name, respond to a simple one-step direction. Like, hey, imitation. Hey, can you do this?
Right.
Looking, imitating. Okay, and now you build up from that instead of saying,
Right.
"Hey, Johnny, go get your shoes, put them in the cubby, and come over here." Of course, he's not going to follow or comply with that direction because he's not even attending to you.
Right. Right. He doesn't even know you're speaking to him.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
start small where that learner is at and then build up that attending and that joint attention and that skill set for them to earn these behavioral cues to then advance and grow in their environment so that they're in control and know how to advocate and communicate
Hmm.
their environment effectively with everyone around.
Right. And can better understand their environment. I feel like that's like a piece is like, I work with a lot of kids who have behavioral issues because they fall apart in their environment because they don't understand the expectations. They don't understand what's happening. Like, they're just like, everybody's being noisy. And you're like, yeah, of course they're being noisy. We're in like a camp cafeteria. But like, if you don't know what all of that means, you can't understand what's happening. And it feels scary. Like, I've been in situations where I don't understand what's happening. And if, you see like 4 ambulances go by or something, and you're like, what happened? That's very scary. It's very loud. Like, kids with autism with delayed communication experience that more.
Somebody mentioned
Yeah.
prerequisite skills. It's like literally, what are the prerequisites? And one of the things too, especially like families that maybe like have just started ABA or you're in a home setting, and it's like, oh, well, are they even really working? Because all they're doing is playing. And it's like there's so much that learning that's going on with simply playing with blocks. It's like attending,
Yeah.
attention, hand-eye coordination, crossing midline, all these different skill sets and stuff are really being targeted in a simple play activity. And it's like, well, they're
Hmm.
not even working, they're just playing, taking breaks all day. It's like, no, there's a lot going on, believe it or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. There's also instructional control developing. We're going to keep talking about different types of control because I
Yeah,
think like
that's a
I
great
always,
one. Let's talk about
yeah,
instruction.
yeah, yeah. I just think like it's so half the battle is having the kid want to learn from you.
Yeah.
If you have a client who wants to learn from you, you are a more effective teacher. And I see that like with my own kids that when they like their teachers and they feel connected to their teachers, they enjoy going to school more, they enjoy their class more, they enjoy what they're learning more. When they feel disconnected from their teachers, that's what it's not the content. Like I have to tell you, it's really not the content that ends up causing issues for my children. It is the quality of their relationship with their teachers. And I feel like that's that instructional control. Do you
Rapport
want to explain?
is,
Yeah. Do you want to explain, like, I don't know, the ABA? Do you know the ABA definition for instructional control? I'm not so good with the words.
listen, I'm not the operational definition girl, I'm the concept queen.
Me too. Oh crap. We need an operational definition, girl.
But guys, rapport building is something you never stop doing.
Yeah.
Like I remember like, oh, you got to build rapport the first 2 sessions. No, you build rapport forever. That's how you're
Forever.
going to earn instructional control, right? And it's like it
Yeah.
sounds like an icky word, but it's like, yo, you want to be your learner's number one reinforcer because once your learner trusts you and you learn how to master your student and understanding like, okay, everything is a shaping process, like knowing what they can tolerate and like shaping up their tolerance to like, be able to play next to their peer or be able to last 20 minutes in reading without a behavior or learning how to advocate, right? But instructional control is so important because we are the ones navigating and enriching our learners' environments to set them up for success. So
Mm-hmm.
when you have instructional control over your learners, guys, you can provide multiple learning opportunities naturalistically. You know how to naturalistically embed their programming so that they're contacting all this reinforcement to practice these skill sets that are going to help project their goals, but also their independence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So instructional control is everything.
I don't remember where this came from. I wish I could like cite my source properly, but I feel like I had learned that pairing is building trust, which if you put it into ABA terminology is like the repeated pairing of words, actions, and consequences, and like making sure that there's like a repeatability of like you do what you say and you say what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you build this trust with kids that they like trust that like if you say, all right, we're going to finish this activity and we're going to go outside, and you actually go outside and you consistently do that, they know that what you say, like you've got their back. And I think like we have a branding problem because like even with just now you said instructional control over the learner, which is the right ABA terminology, but like if you're not in the ABA world, I'd be like, oh, you want to have control over the kid,
Yeah.
like that's a branding problem, but we want to build trust.
Yes. Right. And it's a reciprocated. It's not
Yeah.
just one sided, guys. It's like
Yeah.
your learner has to trust you and you also have to trust your learner. So if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a good relationship with your learner, or like you guys wonder why does so and so never have behaviors with so and so? Why do they always have behaviors with you?
Right.
Right? So
Right.
it's like what's missing? What part, and
Mm-hmm.
especially when you have learners that do have dual diagnoses and like multiple barriers, right? It's like
Yeah.
you really have to be patient to really understand how to navigate certain things, but also to set your learner up for success. Because when you set them up for success, you're setting yourself up for success. Especially working long term with our learners, it's just so important to have a environment that's so fulfilling for both of you guys.
Yes, I know you talk about that a lot, and I love that. Like, I feel like it's really stuck with me, the idea that like you also have to enjoy it, because I do. Like I enjoy my work, and I can't imagine not enjoying it. But I feel like you say it out loud,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I think it's so important. I don't know. I feel like it's not something that I've ever like. It's an assumption I take for granted.
But there's a lot of people that, are interested in, they come in this field, but maybe they come in for the wrong reasons. And it's like, bro, you have to really love what you're doing because we are literally shaping lives here and we are
Hmm.
part of somebody's journey. So it's like, that is such a privilege to do. So why would you not like be happy coming to work? You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
I
And
mean,
even though there's like,
but you have
what
to
was that?
like we have hard days.
Yeah.
Like, there'll be days like, oh, I don't want to go. You know what I mean? But like there has to be some type of you have to just be reinforced about the what you're contributing to somebody's life.
Yeah, and like even though we have like what is it, 9 different ways that we use the word control in ABA, if you're in this to control other people's lives, that's not the right reason. Like if you're in it because you think that you can have some like kind of power over other people's lives because you understand how to manipulate the environment to get people to do what they want, that's not the like I feel like I understand how to manipulate the environment to empower others to be the best version of themselves.
Oh my God, I love that. Say that
That's the
again,
goal.
Nicole.
I can't. I'm so bad at repeating myself. Manipulate the environment to empower others to have control over themselves. Is that what I said?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like the goal is like, I am your coach, I'm your guide, I'm your support system so
Mhm.
that you can learn these skills that are going to be important to you to
Mhm.
function in life in the way that is meaningful to you. I
Mhm.
am not here to control your outcomes or what you're interested in, anything like that. Although I do think like there is always like I have a couple clients now who are super. My family's like such a baseball family, if you guys haven't guessed. And I do have a couple clients because like I try to share like small things with some of the kids that I work with, nothing big, but I'll share like, oh, we were at a baseball game or we're touring all 30 stadiums. And I have a couple clients who are now interested in baseball. And I do think it's because of me.
You started there.
But I'm not trying to influence them. I just feel like I'm like I try to model like how I talk about my interests and having interests.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, it's okay if your interests are not my interests. Like, I don't need you to have my interest for me to enjoy our sessions together. You can go have your own interests and come back to me and talk to me. But like, a couple of them are now interested in baseball, which I find funny.
No, but one of the things too, right? Because one of the things I hear often is like, oh, it's like BCBAs are so dry and robotic and like there's like no personality. But you being able to share a little bit about your life and like, oh yeah, like your special interest, like that is normal. So it's
It's not my
like,
special interest. It is my special interest.
right? It's like, oh, I'm modeling the behavior. Like, hey, we're having a conversation, right? It's like, oh, what are you interested in? Monopoly? Like, yeah, that's how you're going to build a rapport with your learners and the families and the RBTs that you're supporting with. Cause it's like, hey, share about your weekend. Do you have a good weekend? It's okay to have some
Mm-hmm.
talk. You're not
Right.
going to violate any dual relationships because you're sharing what you did this weekend.
Right. I mean, obviously, I'm not sharing, and I think that that's the piece is like, not that I have that many exciting things to share anyway, but like, I'm not sharing like, I had a really tough weekend and I was crying for a couple hours, or I like laid in bed and I binge watched Grey's Anatomy. Like, I'm not sharing the unhealthy things because that's not like that then it's like it's inappropriate. That's
Yes.
not that's not information that children or their parents need to hear from me of like, or like if a parent's like, oh, I'm having a really hard time, and me being like, oh yeah, me too, I was in bed all weekend because I didn't feel like getting out of bed. That's not helpful. That's too much. It's an overshare, which is like does come back to like you're in all these different environments and you have to adhere to all like be flexible to adhere to all these social norms. And then with my clients, I don't share. I'm not like trying to validate them by being like, oh, I also have those problems. Me too. I also struggle with that thing.
It's like,
But I might, yeah.
that's
What?
neutral. You want to find like a neutral conversation.
Yeah. And I might say like, oh, like we had a hard time with such and such in the past, and here's how we got through it, and here's what I did for my family, or like, somebody vacations is always my best example of like how did I handle a vacation.
Hmm.
Because people will be like, well, what do you do on vacations? And I have like my whole point system, and my kids have like we have like a very predictable process, so I'll share it, but I'm not like, oh, and then there was like the day I screamed at everyone on an airplane. I don't know if that's ever happened. I did scream at everyone in an airport once, and my brother still is like, he silenced the whole airport. I was like, I don't think it was that bad. But it's a good example of control because all the kids, 3 of the kids, it was me and my brother and 4 children. And 3 of the children kept grabbing food out of like a candy stand in a Burger King. And I just started screaming to get them to stop.
Yeah.
And you know what didn't get them to stop? Like, you know what didn't control that situation any better and didn't make that situation any better? Me screaming. Not one of my finer moments.
But we all have them, right? It's
Yeah,
like no one's
it's true.
perfect. You're entitled to kind of crash out. That's like the turn to
Yeah,
me.
I know. I know. That's
So
right.
you know how you mentioned that there's like 8 different other
Yeah.
types of controls? Like what's another control? Do we have a list of them?
We do have a list of them. We have self-control, which I feel like we've talked about a lot of self-control, which actually one of the examples we have in the self-control is saving money instead of spending it right away, which is such a good example.
Fun.
Yeah.
How are you? Are you a good saver?
Sometimes I feel like it's hard to save money right now because
I know, right?
I feel like money gets spent so quickly. I feel like I'm at a point in my life where money is out. I'm like, oh, look, I have extra money. Oh, somebody broke a foot.
I
You
know.
know.
Or dang, you really gotta go to the vet because you swallowed a potato. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, yeah. Or like, oh,
it's those extraneous variables that are out of our control.
exactly. And it's like you can't predict those. But I'm okay. Are you good at saving money? I don't know.
I've always been really good at saving money, but then like once I stopped working and I had my daughter, I was a stay-at-home mom, so I was like living
Yeah.
off of savings. So now it's kind
Yeah.
of coming back to that.
Yeah.
But that takes a
Yeah.
lot of self-control.
It does.
Especially like guys, everything is expensive now. Like, let me go to get coffee every morning. That's $12. 12
Mm-hmm.
times 5 times 4 weeks in a month times 52 weeks in a year. That's like $3, $4, $5,000 of coffee
Yeah.
and donuts.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Right.
okay, right? So it's like, oh, let me go get a
Yeah.
coffee pot and pay $12 and now I make my coffee daily.
Right, which is amazing. I feel like where I try to have self-control is like the stuff of like um like I went to Costco last week. I try to order stuff in bulk.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to impulse buy too. So like if I want to buy something, I don't just go onto Amazon and buy it. I like wait, I decide like sometimes I need to buy stuff from Amazon. Like that's just the reality of the world we're in is that like the only place that sells something is Amazon, or the only place I can get it at a reasonable cost is Amazon. But I feel like what I had lost a piece of self control with online shopping and how easy it is to just be like, boom, bought, done.
Yeah, because
And
it's immediate.
it's immediate. And so now I feel like I'm like, all right, I'm going to put it in the cart, or I'm going to put it on the list. And I do a lot more. I actually do a lot more in person shopping again now because I think it does slow down
Mm-hmm.
your spending process. Like when I go to a store to buy something, sometimes I go to a store to buy something and I come out with like $400 worth of stuff. And I'm like, that's not what I meant to happen. But most of the time, I'm like, I'm going to the store and I want to buy this one thing and I'm getting that one thing and then I'm leaving the store.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like, oh, I'm online and I'll just add that to my cart and I'll add that and I'll add that and I'll add that. No. Like, I feel like online shopping is like much more impulsive.
Yeah, and then with me, I'll do like online shopping. Like for instance, like we just got Snow a full size bed, so it's like okay, we gotta get a mattress
Aww.
cover and some sheets, and like especially when you need things like the next day and like a fire stick and a fire stick remote, right? Because
Yeah.
okay, I would much rather order on Amazon than drive to Target, walk around just for a fire stick because I'm gonna probably forget I need the fire stick when I walk into
I
Target.
get 500. Yeah. Well, I also don't go to Target anymore. I feel like when you don't go to Target, you don't spend as much money. I gotta tell you, that is another money saver, not going to Target because I used to spend hundreds of dollars there. It's like so easy.
You look like you work at Target with that red shirt.
I know. It's not even a Target shirt. I used to buy a lot of stuff from Target, but I stopped going there this year. I feel like I go to the regular grocery store again. I get stuff from Costco and I feel like I'm much more intentional. Like I feel like that's a self-control. And then like when I'm teaching my learners that, it's like trying to teach how to hold in those impulses.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, you want to go to Target and buy $500 worth of stuff, or like you want to go knock over your sister's art project, but which is like a self-control issue that like a kid might have. But actually, then you regret the consequences. It feels good in the moment. That dopamine hit you get in the moment of buying $500 worth of stuff at Target or knocking over your sister's art project is great. And then there's like this flood of regret and negative emotions that come up. And I feel like for a lot of kids with ADHD, those negative emotions don't act as enough of a consequence to stop them from doing it again because the dopamine's so good in the moment.
Yeah.
So you have to build up like, oh my God, it's so exciting that you held it in. So like I'll rig things, like I'll have kids like build like a Jenga tower or do something, and I'll be like, now you can't knock it over. How long are you gonna hold it in before you can knock it over?
That's a good strategy.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You wanna knock it over? And some kids will be like, set a timer for 10 seconds and then I have to knock it over, and other kids will be like, start a stopwatch and see how long I can go.
Ooh, they're like, okay, bet. I'm
Yeah.
gonna win this. It's like that old
Yeah. Yeah. And then when you're like, look at that, like you made it 30 minutes. 30 minutes. And like sometimes some kids are like, oh, I totally even forgot about it. I'm like, right, you had the impulse, you saw the tower, and you're like, how cool would that be to knock over?
I know, right?
And then 10 minutes later, it's totally gone. You don't even remember that you wanted to do it. And now you don't have that whole negative cycle that happens of like, I just knocked it over and blah, blah, blah. Like, so
You just
like really, yeah.
You just remind me of like in the clinic setting, especially with like the younger learners, guys, obviously cause and effect, right? And it's like this learner worked so hard to get this tower, the Jenga blocks up, and then this one comes out of nowhere and knocks it all down. And now it's like, oh, we got to be flexible, work on emotional regulation. Like,
yeah,
let's do it again. Do you need help? I can help you, to help them kind of like experience the emotion, validate the emotion, and help them navigate the emotion.
Yeah. And that's like two-sided, right? So it's like one kid needs to work on controlling their impulses and the other kid needs to work on controlling their flexibility and emotional regulation to accept
what just happened in the environment.
Sometimes people have impulse control issues and are going to knock your shit over. Are we cursing on this podcast?
We just did. There's time for everything.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to flip out somewhere else.
See, when you get me a chair with a back, I feel a little more comfortable.
I just sitting on our chairs and stuff.
A little impulsive with my language, no self-control.
What's another one for control?
Let's see. We talked about instructional control. Check. Stimulus control, which you kind of talked about, because the first example for stimulus control, a stop sign reliably evoking stopping behavior, which we discussed. I watched people not follow that stimulus control.
Yeah. And think about like in your environment, right? Like let's say you're on the highway and you're going 90 and see a cop car, you're going to start slowing down.
That's a great example of stimulus control. That's such a good example.
It's like, I don't want to get a ticket. I don't want to get consequence and get pulled over.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Especially when it comes to safety, guys. Safety and consequences that you're going to get punished on, like getting a ticket, having a fee, causing an accident, causing harm, like kind of think of that, especially when it comes to control.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a really good examples for stimulus control, how to make it like easier. Another example we put in here was a phone buzzing, immediately checking your messages. Is that like the buzz of the phone is a stimulus that then gets you to check your messages and like, signals the availability of reinforcement. I guess it's like a discriminative stimulus. Gosh.
Yeah. I don't have you have notifications on your phone?
Right now, so while we're recording, my phone is like completely black so that it doesn't. Now I open the camera so that it doesn't bother me. The only if a phone call came in, it would ring, or if Jack texted me, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't have any notifications for any of my social media. Like I turned notifications off years ago. Like constant like ding, 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 and then like picking up my phone. Like I'm the type of person that's like, oh, whenever I log on, then I'll be surprised. Like, oh, I got messages or comments, then great. If not, no biggie. Like that doesn't like kind of control if I'm reinforced or not,
Right. And like the sound is not controlling that. Yeah. Motivating operational control, which I feel like I'm like, that is so important, but I feel like it's not what people I mean, I don't really think of motivating I guess motivating operations do control behavior.
Yeah. I think that's when we were writing that down, especially, right? Because it's like, oh, well, what are the reinforcers, right? It's like, well, what is the learner motivated by?
Right.
That's another thing too, guys. That's why it's so important to also plan to fade out reinforcement. And I see this often. It's like, well, I don't have any reinforcers. Like, you don't always have to have a tangible thing to reinforce our learner. Like a simple smile gesture, acknowledging the effort is reinforcement, right? It's like, especially if it's going to help that learner build that, like their self-worth and like confidence inside them. Like that's what you should always be aiming to do. And like also to leverage stuff in their home environment. Right? Like make it more fun and rewarding, depending on how the learner is. It's like, like leverage stuff like that naturalistically, because we always want to plan to fade out tangible things.
Right. If they're only motivated to do it to get the tangible at the end. And I see this a lot with kids with ADHD. I feel like this is like, again, I guess I'm really thinking about my like ADHD kids more than my autism kids. But I see it a lot with ADHD where kids, and I guess because also like dopamine is such a controlling factor for ADHD, that with chores. So I hear this over and over again that people, and like even not with chores, like people will say like I put in a so I worked with this social worker and they told me to put in a reward chart. So for every day that my child didn't hit their sibling, they get a point, and then when they get 30 points, they can buy a toy at Target. And then we bought the toy at Target, and now they keep hitting their sibling. It didn't work. It worked for the 30 points, and now it doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, because it only worked when they were motivated to get the toy, and you haven't faded out. They're not actually motivated to not hit their sibling. They're motivated to get the toy. They're motivated to do what it takes to get the toy.
Mm-hmm.
Not motivated to change their behavior to stop hitting their sibling. And they might not even understand why they can't hit their sibling or whatever, or why that's a problem. Or maybe they do, but like the response effort to change that without like a reward in place is too high.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear this a lot from parents that then the kids will say something like, oh, well, I don't have to because there's nothing in it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can hit my brother again because there's nothing in it for me. I don't get anything for not hitting them, so I may as well hit them again. And it's like, I find that those like tangible reinforcers sometimes backfire because kids become dependent on them and then they rely on it. And then they're just like,
yeah. And
I don't have to do it because, I don't have to unload the dishwasher. I don't get anything for it. But like, no, you're part of a family. You're part of a system.
Household.
You know what you get? Your mother doesn't go crazy.
No, but that's
like,
true.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes too with like token economies, right? Especially with early learners. Like we want to have a visual cue for our learners to know, like, all right, especially when you have learners that are working on their attending, maybe they can't sit in a chair for 3 seconds. So it's like, oh, we're going to look one and then, okay, we take a break. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But at some point we do have to structure the environment for them to be successful, but also for them to be able to attend and actually accomplish things that's going to help them.
Right. And like to build that up. And then maybe the goal is like, yep, you started with like, oh my God, you came to the table, you got your token, let's go elsewhere.
Yeah.
That's where you start. But the goal is to finish like, all right, we did activity 1, you got a check. We did activity 2, you got a check. You did activity 3, you got to check. Now we're going to go take a break.
Yeah. And especially too, because like in early intervention, it's more common, right? But also think about it. Our learners, we get them right after the age out of birth to 3, unless you're working in birth to 3. And then guess what? At 3 years old, guys, when your child receives a diagnosis, they go straight to the school. So, and then guess what? They're in school till 21. And guess what? The school is structured. They're there 6.5 hours a day. So to have a learner learning like that, okay, he started with be able to sit for 3 seconds.
Excuse me.
Bless you. To now being able to complete a little simple worksheet or activity or art to craft activity sitting for 15 minutes, right? It's like everyone's like, well, why are you having a 3-hour sit for 15 minutes? What do you mean? We're engaging in our activity. Would you think a learner has to scarf down a meal in 2 minutes? Like think about all those different things, those settings, and the natural environment where a learner has to be able to sit and attend. Right? So it's like you got to think about the terminal behavior, but also the end goal of what we aim to accomplish. So it's like, okay, well, it shouldn't all be tabletop. No, yeah, I agree. But also don't just stop working at a table because the table will always be present for somebody to sit and attend to, especially in a school. It's like 21 from 3 to 21. That's a long time of them having to sit in different environments that are most likely at a table.
It's so true. And I feel like it's like you want to have systems to be able to promote that, but then also not get stuck. And like, I only sit at a table if there's something in it for me. But like, actually, I've taught you to now tolerate it and that it's not so bad and that it's not so scary and that you can handle sitting at a table.
And a table could be so much fun, right? It's like, a sensory play. We could work at the sand table. We could go to this table. We could do an art and craft activity. We're gonna have a snack table at the table. We're gonna have sit at the like a family at the dinner table, right? Yeah. And we're gonna sit at a restaurant in the mall together. Like that's the huge milestones that a lot of families don't even attempt.
Yeah.
Right? It's like people don't think about all that stuff. A simple concept like sitting at the table and like, hey, can you touch the cat? Where's the dog? Oh my God, let's play with this wheels on the bus. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, okay, you want to go? Look, I need a break. I want to run. Right?
Yeah.
And then practice again. So that's a whole other topic.
Yeah. I know. It's a little bit, it's like still related. The whole thing is still related to control. But I think the idea, like what I'm hearing is the idea that like, we're not just making a kid sit at a table to make a kid sit at a table.
Yeah.
And like when people think of ABA and think of us like forcing children to sit at tables and forcing kids to do things that don't appear to make sense, there usually is an underlying reason of a skill set that we're building that this child does not have that they need to function in their society or their community or their family. And if there's not, then that's something that like a family needs to talk to their, or a tech or whoever is experiencing that. Like if you're like, I don't get like why this 3-year-old is sitting at a table for 45 minutes. That's too long in my opinion. That's okay. That's too long. Got it. Understood. But if the BCBA can be like, oh, you know what? They actually have to go to like Sunday school. They're going to have to go to Sunday school next year. And that is sitting at a table for 45 minutes and it's super boring, but their parents are sending them to Sunday school anyway. And so like, we want to make it less torture for them. But if the BCBA is like, oh, well, I just kept going until they sat at the table for an hour. And you're like, oh, what does that mean? Why are we doing that? Like, then we're just trying to control their behavior. You're just trying to do something for the sake of doing it and not because it's meaningful.
Yeah. So think about the transitions in a school, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing it especially in middle school, guys. There's 7 different classrooms, 7 different environments, 7 different teachers, right? Think about how your math class might look different. Your math class desk, think about generalization. Like your math class desk is going to look different than the science tabletops, and you're sitting on stools compared
Mm-hmm.
to the lunch table where it's a whole entire bench or like a patio seat, or maybe they have the wobbly chairs, or they have the chairs that have the rubber bands, right? Like the concept of being able to um you know not only set different variations to the table, but also like the different formats of how seating looks,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And like that's a flexibility thing. And I feel like that's, if your child's going to be in a school setting, that's something that your child will likely need to learn to be able to manage. And also, like, if your child's going to be like, I think it also comes back to like, we don't all go into every single setting all the time. Like, I'm not in stilettos in on runways or watching people on runways or doing anything like that. I don't need to learn how to behave in those settings. We don't need to teach our kids how to behave and what to do and how to respond in every single setting to help kids. Because I think that there's also ABA's developed like a bad rap for also like, again, like not being functional and not being meaningful. And there's real people with real trauma from ABA because they're learning skills that are not related to their life and their eventual outcomes. And like, I get it. Is if I'm forcing you to expand, let's say you really like basketball and I'm like, okay, but you can't only like basketball. You actually have to have 3 other interests, but you really like basketball. Like, isn't that okay? Do I have to but like, you need to, if you really like basketball, I want you to be able to go to a basketball game. I want you to be able to play basketball. I want you to be able to tolerate the rules of basketball. I want you to be able to handle losing basketball. I want you to be able to watch basketball games appropriately with other people. I want you to know how to watch basketball games in public places with other people, to attend the games, to know what to do when you're at a game. If that's your special interest, then there's all of these different scenarios where your behavior needs to change, even though they're all still related to basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not trying to control your interests or who you are, but like if you are interested in basketball and you want your life to be all about basketball, then those are the skills that you need to be able to learn.
You know what you just reminded me of too? You know how another big take is like, well, the learner doesn't have to functionally play with toys or learn how to play a game. They can play themselves. It's like, no, absolutely. They're entitled to also play how they like to play. But don't you think that if they're in the school, wouldn't you want your learner to have a say if they want to play tag with their friends or they want to play, hey, Mr. Clack, right? It's like, it's okay to also teach them ways that maybe they find playing tag reinforcing, especially for our learners. Right now, that's a way for them to engage social mediation with their peers, but also like they find it fun. So for us to not teach learners functional ways to play with different activities or stuff is kind of like also kind of like not doing them a disservice, because like there's choices to everything, and there's no, like, especially when it comes to play, there's no wrong way, but hey, like this is how we play. So if you want to play and someone invites you to play, these are the rules that you have to follow.
Right. Like you can't play, if you're playing tag with other people, we're not playing tag based on your rules. We're playing tag based on the rules of tag.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to play tag, then don't play tag. That's totally fine.
You can say no. Autonomy.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least give them a choice to decide if they want to play and engage.
Right. And then go find other kids who want to play tag the way you like to play tag, or who play the way you want to play, or don't find kids if you don't want to interact with other kids. But I do agree with you. I feel like there is this piece that like, but then I think where it gets watered down and where we lose it in ABA is that it becomes like, we have a program to teach you how to play tag. So even though you're screaming and crying all the time about playing tag, I have to get you to play tag. And I'm stuck on getting you to play tag. And I'm like, maybe you're missing prerequisites. Maybe you actually don't like tag. Maybe the kids aren't nice. Like I think oftentimes because like maybe we're overworked or I think like this weekend I did like so much creative stuff that I was like, oh, ABA is like really a creative art, and doing it well means like really thinking about all of these different factors and all of these different parameters. And oftentimes like we don't have the luxury to be able to do that. And so I think a lot of times like a tech gets a program like, oh, I'm going into this aftercare and I'm supposed to support this kid playing tag, and they don't want to play tag. So now I got to force them to play tag because like I got to get my programs done. When actually like, what are the conditions surrounding the issue here? And like, how am I helping my BCBA understand why this kid doesn't want to play tag?
Mm-hmm. But also too, one of the things as well, right? It's like that's why I really love naturalistic teaching. It's like things are like just because like if we're going out for recess, like we don't have to create a goal of tag. We could literally just teach our learner. And I'm like, oh, you want to play tag? This is how we play tag. Tag, you're it, and go run.
Yeah.
Right? We don't always have to make everything a program.
Yeah.
That's also something I shared with like a couple of my texts before. It's like, oh, especially if it's in the natural environment, guys. Like for instance, teaching blowing the nose. I supported a learner in a school, and it's like she would blow her nose in her hand and then eat her boogers. So I didn't tell the BCBA, oh, we need to create a program. No, I taught her to blow her nose independently because that's something she's going to contact in her environment naturalistically. So why do I have to create a program to teach her an important skill that she's going to learn anyways? Right?
I know why. It has the word control in it. Experimental control.
Mental control. Was that number 6 or 7?
The list.
Yeah.
But experimental control. I feel like a lot of times we're like, we have to put a program in place to show that we taught this. And like, I am like, guys, take your data to get credit for the hard work you're doing. But I also think like there is a point where sometimes the need for experimental control then bleeds into the trying to control the client that you're with. And like, that's why, like when a BCBA is like, oh, I need a program for that. And then you're like, no, we don't need a program. I just taught it yesterday. You're like, we're done here. I've taught that. We're over it. I just want to let you know it was an issue. But like, I feel like oftentimes we are like, we need to show why we need ABA, and we need like all our ducks in a row. And so then you look at it as experiment. Like I got to get my trials in. I got to get my data in. I got to show that my session was effective or my program was effective.
Or like the programs where it's like, oh, like especially like we'll complete like 3-step or fine motor activities across like 10 different targets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are helpful.
Yeah. We should come back to that. I feel like we should come back. We could have a whole other conversation about like how do you make realistic programs, because it's something I still struggle with, that sometimes I'm like, it's just like I find good ABA hard to collect data on. Because you're right, like in the moment, today's session might be it's all manding because you keep asking me for things, or there's things you're really motivated by. Tomorrow's session, you're not motivated by a lot, and it's actually like all coping skills and toleration. And like that's I struggle with that, maybe because my learners are much more complex. But I really do struggle with that, with like how to show experimental control without getting tied down by the data and then letting that bleed into other forms of control.
Like at the clinic where I pick up at, there's like 30-minute transitions. So it's like, oh, we're going to do DTT, and then we're going to do sensory room, and then we're going to go activity room. Like, you know what I mean? There's always a transition. And during like DTT time, I tell the staff all the time, like, listen, if he's not in the mood to go do DTT, that's okay. We could still hit other programs. Like we could do attending to the book. We could do attending to activity. We could work on manding, right? Manding for help. Like it's okay also to modify demands, guys. Like you can modify demand. So I always tell them like, go with the vibe of our learners, right? If like he's not ready to sit for this, to run trials, that's okay. We could hit trials another time, right? Or go do the trials on the floor, you know?
Right.
But
or work on manding, work on being like, I'm not ready. I don't like this.
Yeah,
this
and
is
it's
too
like
hard.
There's so many programs too, especially with early intervention. There's so much net going on. Like there's ways to make the environment or that 30-minute chunk still valuable for the learner. Like just because like, okay, the schedule says DTT, but he's not willing to sit or come to the table. He's having a hard time, and like, you know, he's really inflexible. Okay, then we're not going to work on DTT. Let's work on attending. Let's work on managing, right? It's like you could still run programs that are going to support the learner in the moment, because every day is going to be different, like you mentioned. He's gonna maybe, especially our friends that might kill it in the morning, but after like, oh my gosh. So it's like, okay, let's try to focus on hitting those attending targets in the morning, and then, you know, be more flexible at the afternoon, and vice versa.
I think we've covered most of our forms of control.
What are some things that you like to control in your environment?
I really try to control myself and like how I show up in spaces, because I really don't think I have a lot of control over a lot of other things, if that makes sense. I mean, I guess I do like to control, like, I like my house to be clean. It makes me feel chaotic when my environment is chaotic. But I feel like an easy way, I feel like what most people do and what I have been guilty of is like when my kids are messy, I just like shame them about it, which is not the right thing to do. I now have like more clear consequences. Like last night, Nolan Nolan wanted some Halloween candy, and I was like, for every wrapper I find around the house, I get to take that many pieces of your Halloween candy. And he was like, he only ate 3 candies, but he was like, threw them all in the garbage. And I was like, haha. I'm not controlling you through shame or through intimidation. I'm controlling you through a consequence that, like, if I'm expected to clean up after you, I also get to share your candy. You got to share your candy with me. If you're expecting me to clean up after you, then there's a tax. Sorry, buddy. And I feel like that works better. And I feel like doing things like that is like, I really try not to control through shame and intimidation. And to keep a safe environment. I work on the safety. The only thing I try to control is the safety.
Yeah, we have
Like,
to control the safety. And also to like those consequences, right?
Yeah.
It's like, especially as they're getting older in middle school, like especially like socializing and the effects of and like your mental state and all these different variables that contribute to who he's going to grow up to be.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else I try to control. I don't know. What do you think I control? That's a harder question.
Yeah. I mean, with the routine, especially with your travel, like you have to control, you have to have some sense, especially as a parent, there's so much stuff that we do have to control for us to maintain our sanity.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, I need to be in control of my routine and my environment, right? It's like, okay, my coffee is here. It's always here. I put my keys in this spot every single day. So when I'm ready to leave, my keys are right there. So if Jeff takes my keys and I go downstairs because the keys are supposed to be in my pocket because I have nail clippers on my keychain because I stem off my nails. And he knows that. So sometimes he'll go get my keys, bring the keys to the living room so he can cut his nails, but then he never puts my keys back. So there have been a couple times where, in the morning, I got snow, I got my lunchbox, I got my bag, it's cold, I'm bringing her downstairs, and my doors will automatically open if the key are in my pocket. So if I go to my car and it doesn't open, now I know I don't have my keys. Now I have to worry about finding the keys. Now I got to bring Snow back upstairs because I live on the second floor and go find my keys because my keys are not where they are. So now it's like I'm at a loss because I'm not in control of my environment, and everything is so timed and structured for me to feel successful in navigating my day. So simple things like that is like what I feel like I have to have a sense of control, right?
And then when you don't have it, it's really easy to like lash out in other ways to try to regain that control.
Because now your routine
is off. That. Yeah, your whole routine is off. And I think like I have a lot of empathy for kids when their routines get thrown off because like you said, like we have our routines and we experience that. And so like when kids lash out, you lash out probably in a much more appropriate way. When kids do it, they don't do it in appropriate ways. And so like it can look like behavior problems, but it's actually just they're trying to control the chaos that they're experiencing. And you probably like you're describing all these things that you need in order to like feel calm and centered.
Yeah.
And to like organize that chaos.
And especially with like ADHD and always forgetting stuff, it's like I need to purposefully place things strategically for me to be successful in my environments. Yeah. It just and it does kind of like ruffle my feathers if things are kind of thrown off, especially if I place something there for me to be successful the next time I contact it and it's like misplaced or it's not there. Right. It's like, oh my gosh, now I got to solve a problem that I already solved before to prevent this problem from being existing. But
it's exhausting. Right. It like he took your keys. And so you can be mad about it, or you can like, I don't know, try to solve it and have a conversation with him. Or you can like you could lash out at him. Like, and I feel like a lot of times we just like lash out and I'd be like, what the hell? Why are you taking my keys? Like,
yeah. And it's kind of annoying too. It's like, I hate to inconvenience other people. So like he's still knocked out by the time we leave. So it's like, now I got to wake him up and now he's probably going to be great. Like, it's like, where are my keys? I don't know. Well, you took my keys. Where are they? Yeah. But sometimes like one of the things for me to solve that is like, there's always a nail clipper by our headboard. So there's always one there. There's one in the bathroom. And then there's also one in the kitchen. So I literally have like 3 nail clippers.
That's like me and chapstick. I have chapsticks everywhere.
Yeah. I think every girl got like chapstick, right? It's like, I can solve this problem because I know where there's another to solve it.
I need to get a chapstick for here for like this space because I don't have one here and it's
Yeah.
But
yeah, that was a lot about control.
Yeah, a lot. I feel like control is like such a dynamic thing, and I just think it's such like a bad word in ABA, and it has such a bad connotation in ABA. I feel like if you take away anything from this episode, I think is that like control is meant to be helpful in ABA. And like when we utilize instructional control and things like that in meaningful ways, it's meant to be meaningful and functional for our clients, for us, for everybody we serve, and it's meant to help support and empower.
I love it. You literally laid it down so perfectly. Right? It's meant for
Well, thank you.
empowerment, to teach our learners all these skills for them to carry over and have control and say in their environment too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's meant to give people control over their own environment. Like, I don't want people to be in ABA forever. I don't want people to be feeling like they're dependent on others forever. I want my learners to feel empowered. I want my learners to want to be independent. I want them to learn the behaviors to be able to live functionally and meaningfully, not just to do the things I want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want it to mean something. And so I feel like it's all about giving them the control, like transferring control to your learner.
Mm-hmm.
So that they can manage their lives, whether it's their emotional regulation or, making their own routines. Like, the more you have, the more autonomy you have.
Yes, ma'am. 100%.
Yeah.
So control is a good thing, guys.
Yeah. Good control. Control can be I want to say can be a good thing, because control can also be a terrible thing at times. But I think when you use it in a good way, it is a good thing. It's meant to be good. All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that was our episode for control. Like, subscribe, share any comments with us, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.